mean it tonight. Want to say good evening and welcome to the show. As always, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. All of the things you could be doing on a Thursday night, you choose to be here with me. As always, I tell you, the fact that you guys have been supporting me all of this time for the last almost 3 years, I'm truly humbled. It moves my heart sometimes to tears. My name is Hank Batiste. My show is called OMITDALOGIC. This shit makes no sense. I'm your host tonight, and this is the first time that the voices in my head are just relieved to be back here this week. Last week, I went to New York for Father's Day getaway. It turned into an adventurous Homer Odyssey, life changing epiphany. And I'll try to tell you a little bit more about that in closing. All in all, I had a great time. But next time I go, I want to make sure that I catch a Yankees game. As for Father's Day, I truly enjoyed it. And all of you guys that sent me Father's Day greetings, I want to say thank you. Thank you. This trip helped to put things in perspective and reminded me that each of you have everyday things that you're dealing with. My adventure also made me understand that I should not take it personally. Sometimes when you have things to do or you don't see these things with the same expediency, sense of expediency, or you don't view these things or you're not as agitated as I am about some of the things that are going on. Finally, I realized that each of us has our own epiphany or epiphanies in pecking order to kind of deal with all of this. And by pecking order, things are happening in your life that you have to put up here and worry about November, even though it's going to be life changing when November comes or when the election comes. And I've been taking all of these steps to prepare you, to educate the masses, and to try to light a fire under everyone so that you guys will see it with the same sense of urgency that I see it with. And last weekend put things in perspective for me. So tonight we're going to go off script a little bit. We're going to have a conversation about what's going on in the country. And more importantly, we're going to talk about um, just some things that should matter more and how these things relate to that. Um, Tonight's show is actually called 138 Days. Meanwhile, let's put things in perspective. The obvious is in 138 days, we have these midterm elections on the horizon. But we have to put things in perspective because we're dealing with some immediate things, and then we're dealing with some things that are on the horizon that's going to affect how we live day to day, as I put it to you before. Not only for the last 2 years, for 2023 and 2024, it's going to affect 25, 26, 27, and 28. So we're talking about 6 years. What happens in November is going to affect the next 6 years. And what I'm going to ask you tonight is to look past some of our personal epiphanies and plan for it. My name is Hank Batiste. This is Omit the Logic. This shit makes no sense. But we're going to try to make it make sense. Let's get to it. These congressional hearings, And I don't know about you, but I've up to here. When I hear some of the things that I thought I knew, and then I hear some of the things that they've learned since then, I'm overwhelmed. And I know some of you guys have already tuned out because for the most part so have I. But I try to do the recaps just to try to find out what's happening. Of all of the things that I've seen thus far, the most profound thing to me, because I've been calling this a coup, a failed coup d'etat from January 6th. Now Steve Bannon, Trump's little mastermind, this little racist, I want to say piece of shit, but I don't want to cuss. When you talk about certain people in that description, you're not cussing. It's like calling a dirty dog a dirty dog. If the dog is dirty, it needs a bath. And Steve Bannon is one of the most hate-filled people in this place we call America. And whether you realize it or not, he was the architect of a lot of policies that got Trump on this runaway train. Steve Bannon is so evil, he couldn't even get along with the other races in the White House. So he got kicked off the island. How could someone have that kind of gall? The January 6th committee is coming up with all this information, and his ass is not in handcuffs. That's beyond me. Meanwhile, here in the state of Florida and other places, but I'm going to focus on the state of Florida because Ronald Trump DeSantis, Florida's governor, came supposedly within 34,000 votes of being beat by a black man by the name of Gillum. Gillum has been indicted for fraud and mismanagement of election money. The reason I bring this up because we hear the same thing about Trump over and over and over and over and over again. So this is the two Americas that we talk about. So how is it? I don't know. Let me back up. When I think of this January 6th so-called congressional hearing, I think of a toothless lion. This massive lion on the Serengeti. And from a distance, it looks menacing. And then you come a little closer and you realize it has no teeth, no fangs, no claws. So I look at this hearing and I say, all of this information, over 1,000 people have been interviewed, and they use the term interview. They don't use the term interrogated. And they keep saying that we're not a power, we're not a body that has the power to prosecute. As a result, what we see is this free for all. Did you know that Joe Manchin, his coal company and coal companies in West Virginia are being sued? And the case is in the U.S. Supreme Court. And you wonder why he will not back any of Build Back Better. And if I see it, why didn't Biden see it? If I can identify this conflict of interest, why is the man still wearing this Democratic hat? I'll talk about the Supreme Court later. This free for all. There's a relationship that exists between wage increases, gas prices, and inflation. More than a year ago, I told you when Biden first started to propose raising the minimum wage to $15, I told you several things would happen. The first thing I told you is rents would rise by 75%. So I said if somebody was paying $600, they would be paying, after wage increase, they would be paying somewhere between $900 and $1,000. In some places, it increased by 100%. Rent went from $600 a month to $1,200 a month. So you said, no, 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 no. Congress didn't increase the minimum wage. What Biden did was he put in an executive order to extend that COVID money where people could sit on their behinds and make the same money, in some cases more, per week. So it forced these businesses to raise the wages on their own, to lure people back into the workforce. So my Creole Powers told you this. I also told you that gas prices would almost double. I said gas prices would increase by 60%. Now we see gas prices was $2.90, somewhere between $2.50 and $2.90 a year and a half ago. Now, for all intensive purposes, we just might as well say gas is $5.56 a gallon for regular. I also told you, I keep feeling like I'm going down this rabbit hole. But see, this is how we're trying to put it in perspective. You can't worry about November. You can't concentrate on midterm elections when a pack of chicken wings costs $20. You can't concentrate on midterm elections when you can only put $10 to $15 in your tank and you're only riding on a quarter of a tank of gas. You can't concentrate on these things when you go back to work. And you have all of these attitudes that you have to deal with. Because now you have to be concerned about being pulled over. You have to be concerned about your children and your grandchildren going to school. Because the other byproduct of this free for all, this Steve Bannon and this Trump and calling white supremacist group patriots, these people have become more brazen. Until the U.S. Supreme Court and Congress makes killing black people a capital murder charge that carries a death sentence, until police start treating them like murderers, versus treating them like they've just done a service for the good patriotic white people. And I'm going to say this one more time. This has nothing to do with color. This has nothing to do with me being prejudiced. This is an observation that Stevie Wonder could see. So until those things happen, you can't concentrate on no midterm elections. You're wondering what's going to happen when you go to a graduation. You're wondering what's going to happen when your child, your grandchild. You're wondering what's going to happen when you go to church. So we're trying to put things in perspective. Right now, the things we're dealing with are immediate. But the only way to fix those immediate things is planning to deal with it with the one thing that we can do to combat it. And that's hiring some people that's going to do what we want them to do. We call it elections, but in essence, we're hiring them. And if they're not doing the job that we hired them to do, then we fire them. And we do that at the polls. Now that COVID, and I hate to say this, now let me rephrase that. I was about to say now that COVID has started to decrease. No. Now that the country is opened back up and we can have face-to-face meetings with our so-called elected officials, we plan by getting more involved, present company included. So I have a problem when they do something and they call it patriotic. I have a problem when people come to this country, be they Pakistani or Afghani or Indian or Jamaican or Nigerian or Ukrainian or wherever they come from. And they understand the political process better than we do. And most of us are 5, 6, 7, 8 generations deep American. Most of us couldn't name 3 countries in Africa. But we consider ourselves African Americans because this is what we told we are. I'm not African American. I'm black. Because black, if you mix the colors of the rainbow together, you get the color black. That best describes me. That best describes my ethnicity. That best describes where I come from. And I'd be willing to bet $10 to a donut. It describes you as well. So Manchin is being sued by the United States. Nancy Pelosi has been so caught up in investing on Wall Street. Mitch McConnell has been trying to create his own America. And all of these folks have their own agendas. Then we got this idiot. I'm going to say he's post-concussive. I'm going to say Herschel Walker got hit so many times that he's post-concussive. He has to be. I wouldn't say that he was a brain surgeon, but then again, we had Ben Carson, who was a brain surgeon, who did some of the silliest shit imaginable. He was one of the few people that stayed in the Trump administration from day one till they left. And I have yet to hear him speak on what happened on January the 6th. So if I missed it, if he's been deposed, I'm sorry, they're not doing depositions, they're interviewing. So if he's been interviewed by this congressional committee, a hearing, somebody schooled me, I missed it. So then we talk about Mike Pence, and they talk about him like he was a hero. And to me, that's extremely scary. If you talk to people from the state of Indiana, the only thing that was worse than Trump to me, because Trump was about ego, Mike Pence has a better understanding of government, and he has the know how to screw us royally. And I say that because we've been patting him on the back because he was the linchpin that brought this coup d'etat down. I told you guys, this shit is chess. This not checkers. So now he's being called a patriot. Now he's speaking out against Trump. He's trying to recapture the Republican Party. I'm going to say out of the frying pan into the fire. Because he's just devious enough to tap into that power grid that we call hate and use it as a springboard to the White House. So on one hand, we said Mike Pence was patriotic because he didn't follow Trump's orders and he did what he was supposed to do as the vice president. My Creole powers tell me that Pence knew what a real Trump power grab would look like with his self-appointed minions to do his everyday bidding. We got all of these young kids. We've got all of these racist white people. And I'm going to say this again. They are the minority, literally and figuratively. They're the minority because not all white people are like this. There are a lot of white people who does not agree, who did not agree. But you have a lot of white people who feel like they can't compete. So it's easy to take what belongs to another. Let me say something. If we look at the things that are important to us, if we look at the price of gas, if we look at the price of food, if we look at what insurance costs, whether you own your house or whether you're paying rent, if you're looking at what health insurance costs, if you're looking at all of the things that we have to write a check for at the beginning of the month, in the middle of the month, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month, if you're a plantationer and you have to drive to and from work. If we look at those things on an immediate basis, these are the things that affect me. These are the things I have to be concerned with. And we ask ourselves, how can we fix them? I'm going to give you the answer. 138 days. November the 8th, 2022. But we need to have some assurances. We need to rise up as a people. If we give that Congress, if by some miracle we increase the numbers in the Senate and we hold on to the House of Representatives, then we need assurances that we're going to have a Speaker of the House that's going to do the company's bidding, not her own or his own. We need a Senate Majority Leader, unlike Chuck Schumer, someone who's going to tell Manchin shit or get off the pot. If you're going to behave like a Republican, join the Republican Party. We need somebody that's going to reinstill some ethics and talk about conflicts of interest. It's like that old Eddie Murphy movie. What was it? Not Trading Places. I forgot the one where he runs for Congress. I can't think of the name of it now because I'm pissed. I'm gonna tell you this and then I'm out of here. I was on this plane. I got on the plane, left my house in Daytona, 2:00 in the morning. I got to the airport in Orlando after 3. I got on the plane. Well, no. Let me back up. I got on the plane. They didn't start boarding until 4:30 or 4:50 or something like that. I got on the plane. We took off at 5:20 in the a.m. I was so tired that I knew I was going to sleep that little 2 hours. When I woke up, what woke me up was the sun was coming in my window. I always sit by the window. So for 30, 40 seconds, I have the sun on the side of my face and my arm. And then for 30, 40 seconds, I look across the plane and I see the sun on the opposite side of the plane. Me being the nerd that I am, I say that means that we're in a holding pattern. We're doing circles, donuts. I look at my watch. It's 9:05. I ring the bell. I say, excuse me, I don't profess to being a pilot or engineer, but I don't know the capacity of the fuel engines here, but we've been in the air for a while. We were supposed to land a couple hours ago. What seems to be the problem? She says, well, sir, we're outside of Richmond, Virginia. We're doing circles. We're doing our 7th circle because there are thunderstorms on the horizon. So the furthest we can get is Richmond. I'm sitting in exit row seating. The guy that was seated next to me on the aisle was a pilot for United. He gave me his tab and he started showing me the radar. He says, hey man, this is what's happening. You see these thunderstorms? And I says, yeah. He says, yeah, we can't do that. We can't even fly over it. I said, okay, well, I used to be a paramedic. See, I was on the ambulance back when Pan Am flight went down in New Orleans. So I know what can happen. He looked at me and said, oh, okay. He came back 10 minutes later, I kid you not, and he says, man, I just looked up what you said. He said, you mean Pan Am flight 1982? I said, yep. He said, man, I was 4 years old. I said, this plane went down shortly after takeoff. And the debris was scattered for probably a 4 or 5 mile radius. We couldn't get close to the plane. He said, wow. Stewardess comes back. I'm sorry, flight attendant comes back. And she says, as soon as we know something, I'll let you know. The captain will make an announcement. I said, okay. So then I started to talk to God. I said, you know what? Every day we get into these mundane things that we do on an everyday basis. We get in our car and we drive to the store. We hop a bus, we get on a train, we get on the subway, we catch a plane, we catch a train, whatever. And we've done it 1,000 times before, so we don't give it a second thought. We might say a little prayer and we keep it moving. And me being the person that I am, both spiritually and intellectually, I said, I would bet none of those people look at that mundane task that they've done 1,000,000 times before and never give it a second thought that this might be the last time that I cross the street, or that I drive to the store, or that I catch an airplane. 9:20, we sat down in Baltimore to refuel. We were there till 10 of 11. And they said, what we're going to do is we're going to drive. We got a little clearance. So what we're going to do is we're going to drive. We're going to fly west and we'll come around. And I'm thinking to myself, we were at Richmond. There are airports in Richmond. There's airports in, and Washington National, right outside of Arlington. There's BWI. There's Dulles and all those other airports in between. And then going into New York, you got LaGuardia, you've got JFK, you've got Newark, you've got Philadelphia. And I'm looking at all of that and I'm saying, we've been in the air since 5:20 this morning. My guesstimation is there's probably close to 100 airplanes in its holding pattern. That was my epiphany, people. So it put these things in perspective for me. And I'll be honest with you. When I touched down in New York, I slept most of the day away. I was supposed to go to the Yankees game, but A, I was exasperated. I was exhausted. And I was worried about paying this money and being rained out. So I didn't go. But then I came home. I enjoyed New York. I came home and I said I needed that time away to catch my breath. Now I'm reinvigorated. I'm ready to go at this again. So you have your own pecking orders. You have your own marching orders. You have your own things that you have to do on a daily basis. But put those things in perspective, because the one thing that affects each and every one of us is there are some people that set the price of gas because they own stock in the gas company. There's some people that's blocking Build Back Better because they own coal companies and so forth and so on. And we said, what can we do about it? 138 days. November 8th. You got local elections going on now. Stay on it. Stay in front of it. Get in front of it. Stay informed. 138 days. That's all I got for you tonight. My name is Hank Batiste. This is OMITDALOGIC. As always, it's always imparting. I will see you here next week. Same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. If you just tuned in, I'm going to take this show, I'm going to put it online. If you're on YouTube, you'll see it. If you're on my Facebook, you'll see it. 138 days. Meanwhile, we need to put this in perspective. Next week, same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. It's always important. I wish you love. I wish you peace, my people. Like you mad? Even with a sunroof in my afro, I wish you had grease. I'm out of here. Good night, people.